Hey everyone, and welcome to my channel, Powerful Perspectives. I'd like to share a paradox today that I think is really important. I think it's one that it's been thrown around a little bit. It's not necessarily a new idea or a new perspective, but I think it's something that we need to still focus on and really give the time of day. So I'd like to talk today about when being selfish isn't selfish. And that's kind of the paradox. There are some things that we look at from the outside, especially like in looking at other people's lives, looking at other people's decisions, where we kind of assume a meaning to it, right? We assume a motivation, like why someone is doing something, what their motivation is, what their reason is. We kind of assume the context behind what people are doing. And the the funny thing is that we don't often know what that context is actually. We just kind of assume that we know, or we kind of make our best guess. And a lot of this happens subconsciously. We don't even really recognize that we're making assumptions rather than just stating fact, right? I think for us, oftentimes, it kind of appears just logical or sensical, and so we just kind of think, oh yeah, like we don't give it a second thought. It just kind of happens naturally. But we do this all the time, and I think we need to be critical of it. We need to take a step back and really ask ourselves, okay, like, do I have all the facts? Do I really know why a person is doing something or not? But there are some situations where it's a little bit clearer, it's a little bit easier to see. So I like to use the example of when you're on an airplane. So for those of you who have experience flying, hopefully many of you do. It's always a fun experience. I love to fly, but I know that there are some people who maybe have not had this experience. For those of you who haven't, when you go on an airplane, they kind of go over different safety measures before, like just in case anything happens while you're in the air. If you lose like cabin pressure, like the cabin, like basically the inside of the airplane has to be pressurized, and they need to provide oxygen, right? Because you're flying high in the sky where oxygen is thinner, and so they have to provide oxygen within the aircraft. They need to pressurize that air. And if something happens where you lose air pressure, then there are oxygen masks that fall from kind of the drop down. They don't really fall out, but they drop down from the ceiling kind of above you. There's compartments that they fall from, or drop down from rather. And the people, like the flight attendants who are there, who kind of give these safety demonstrations before you take off and go on your flight, they always tell you that you should put your own oxygen mask on before helping someone else. For those of you who have experience with flying, like, you'll be very familiar with this. Like, they say it literally every time that you go on a flight. But for those of you, again, who haven't had that experience of flying somewhere, this is what they do. And the idea or the reason is you need to help yourself before you can be in a position to help someone else, right? It's just like the same idea, the same principle applies to if you're gonna go out and like try to save someone who's drowning, right? Like, you go out with the flotation device, or you can throw the flotation device to them, right? Because again, like someone who's drowning, sometimes they're just so desperate that they actually pull you down with them. But you throw them, like you give them the flotation device. Or if you are going to go out, you make sure that your own safety is secured first, right? Because the idea is you cannot give what you do not have. And so in order to be in a position to give, in order to be in a position to help, you need to first be in an okay place yourself. And sometimes that can look like it's being selfish. Sometimes, people who look from the outside might just say, oh, like, yeah, you're just taking, you're focusing on yourself, like, maybe there's like a child, for example, sitting beside you on the airplane who is like short, cannot reach their own like oxygen mask, right? You're thinking, oh, like that child needs it, you should give them the oxygen mask first. But the idea is that no, like in order to give, in order to help, you need to have something to give from, and you need to be in an okay position yourself. And this principle applies across the board in so many different circumstances. It applies in questions of work and burnout, like you need to take care of your own energy, you need to take care of your own mental and emotional health before you have the bandwidth to be able to give to other people, right? If you're just constantly giving, and putting in more than you have to give, or more, like you're going past kind of your limit, then you're not going to be able to give. Like you're going to run out of what you're able to do. And here's the second thing, like even before you run out, right? Maybe someone says, oh well, like I still have more than I can give. Like I still have like just enough energy. Like I don't have much, but I have a little bit, so I can give that little bit, right? And we tend to rationalize sometimes, especially those of us who are perfectionists, those of us who are really like outward focused, who are really service oriented, which is a beautiful quality, a beautiful trait to have. But when that comes at our own expense and at the expense of our own health, and our own needs, it's not healthy. It's toxic, and it's not actually it's not beneficial. It's not beneficial for us, right? And sometimes we say, okay, well, I'm okay with it not benefiting me. I'm okay being the martyr, like I'm okay giving or taking less so that someone can have more. But what we don't always recognize is that the quality of what we are able to give, even if we haven't hit our limit, even if we kind of rationalize and say, you know what, I still have a little bit that I can give. I haven't quite hit rock bottom, right? When you get close to rock bottom, even before you hit it, it takes a toll on the quality of product that you're able to give. Think of it, for example, as like electronic devices, okay? Like a lot of us have phones. Like if you have a phone that's running out of power, running out of battery, right? What will it do? It will send you a notification asking if you want to go in like low power mode or like low battery mode, right? Which just uses, like it kind of turns off certain functions that normally would run kind of in the background or whatever. It limits those so that you're not using as much energy, right? And with a phone, you kind of have a choice. You can choose whether to go into this low power mode or not, and that will have different consequences, right? But for other like electronic devices that don't really have those same like settings that you can kind of fiddle with, once they get close to the end, like before they quit out, there's just certain functions that stop, right? Like with a computer, or with, I don't know, like an electric razor or like a toothbrush or whatever. Like before you hit like rock bottom, before it just completely dies and runs out, there are elements or features or functions, or at the very least just power that is cut, right? The quality of the product or the service or the function is reduced because you're so close to that running out point, to that like just dying point. So I think this is really important for us to just look at seriously and critically, and just really take a step back and be honest with ourselves, and recognize that even in moments where we can give a little bit more, where we aren't completely dead ourselves, the quality of what we are able to give is suffering, because we ourselves are suffering if we're not taking care of our health, of our needs, of the things that we need. So if it might feel selfish to take a nap, in the middle of the day. It might feel selfish to take a sick day. It might feel selfish to decline an offer to go to a party or something, like just because you don't have, like you're an introvert and you don't have the bandwidth to be able to like stand that many people, whatever it is, right? Like there are so many situations that we can easily get in and that we do get in on a daily basis where focusing the attention on taking care of yourself and your own needs, it feels selfish. Oftentimes because it is labeled on the outside as being selfish. But just recognize that those people who maybe contribute to making you feel that way, or who maybe pressure you to give even when you're kind of at your limit, take a step back and recognize, you know what, I'm close to not being able to give more. Or maybe we have hit that point, you know, I can't give more and I'm still trying. But even when we get close, just recognize that and take a step back and be honest with yourself and saying, you know what, I could give more right now. Like I haven't hit rock bottom yet. I could give more, but the quality of what I would be able to give would not be my best. It would not be what I know I'm capable of. And because those around me deserve more and they deserve quality and they deserve something, like they deserve my best, right? I want to give my best, or I want to give quality. Taking care of myself right now is the step that I need to take in order to ensure that. And if we think about it this way, self-care actually becomes a collectivistic act. It becomes selfless, right? And it really is a question of motivation, right? Some of us don't have problems with this at all. Some of us have it very clear in our minds that we take care of number one first. And that's just not a question. And that just never enters the conversation. It's never doubted. Because some people just are so aware of that, or they're just so, well, I mean, there are some proud and self-centered people out there as well. But I'm not trying to like be negative about it. There are some, like, it can be a very positive thing too, right? Some people just don't question that they need to come first in their own lives and that they need to take care of themselves first. Others really struggle with this, really struggle with it. And so for those who do struggle with it, for those who struggle feeling at peace and feeling okay and feeling validated, and like you're, just validated, or what's the word I'm looking for here? Not rationalized, but feel like you have a reason, like a valid reason to take care of yourself. If you can see self-care as actually being something that you're doing for someone else, because it will benefit someone else just by default. The very fact that you are in a better place allows or makes it possible for everything that you do to be a better quality. You're able to give more, you're able to put more in simply because you have more to give from. So yeah, I guess that's just my thought, my invitation for everyone watching here. Be a little selfish sometimes. Fill your own glass. And the idea, ideally, the idea would be that you fill your glass to the very top, and then until it's overflowing, and then you give other people of your increase. You give like whatever runs over the top of your glass of energy, of bandwidth, of whatever, whatever, like what runs over the top, that's what you give, right, to everyone else. Some of us have a really hard time with that, and we're just constant pourers, right? As soon as we have like a milliliter of water in our cup, we're desperately finding, like, we're looking for someone to pour, like for another cup to pour it into. We can't live off of a milliliter. Like, yeah, I'll take this metaphor a little bit farther as well. Like, water is essential for life, right? You can't live without it. And so if every single time we get even just a milliliter of water, we're looking for someone else to give it to, we are going to die of thirst. It's just going to happen. Like you're going to die. The end is not good. So make sure that you drink what you need to survive, that you satisfy your own thirst. And again, like here, like we need to be careful to separate needs and wants, right? I'm talking here about what we need to be healthy, what we need to function in a way that we feel at peace, that we are in a good place. That doesn't mean that everything that we want, all of our desires and fancies and wishes play into that. Those are nice to have on the side, right? But those desires and wishes and would-be nices, those can be set aside, and you know, you can still prioritize other people's needs before your own wants or your desires. But in terms of sacrificing your own needs for someone else's needs, those we need to be careful with. So I leave that with you just as a thought. Go ahead and take it. Go ahead and comment. Like I'd love to hear what your thoughts and insights and impressions are. If you have any, leave those in the comments below. And I'll see you all next time.